Tonight on NewsNight, why one local mayor is looking to Harrisburg for his next move.
And which major electronic manufacturer is looking at our city.
Plus the latest in sports and campus news. NewsNight begins now. Good evening and welcome to NewsNight. I'm Alex Popichak alongside Rob Gomez. We begin tonight with a local politician's next step. Braddock Mayor John Fetterman has decided to run for lieutenant governor. Fetterman announced earlier today in a video message that he would challenge sitting Lieutenant Governor Mike Stack in the Democratic primary next year. The video highlights Fetterman's accomplishments in his 12 years as mayor of Braddock. He says he's running for lieutenant governor because he wants to provide assistance to struggling towns like Braddock from a state level. Fetterman unsuccessfully ran for a U.S. Senate seat last year and faces 3 other challengers, including Stack, the incumbent. Stack has been criticized in the past for mistreatment of state employees, and Pennsylvania Governor Tom Wolf stripped Stack of his police protection. Wolf ordered the investigation into abuse in June and has remained silent as to whether or not he will run with Stack for re-election next year.
Members of the electronic media company LG will be in Pittsburgh this week to discuss possible collaborations with local universities and possible partnerships. The South Korean-based company will also be looking into potential investment opportunities into some startups. The trip was arranged by Councilman Dan Gilman. He's hopeful this trip will be the start of something big for both LG and Pittsburgh. Mr. Gilman stated, quote, "Certainly the fact that 36 executives are flying in from South Korea show that they are both cognizant of the great opportunities that there are in Pittsburgh, and also that they are very serious about investing in companies and people here in Pittsburgh," end quote. Councilman Gilman will be pulling out all the stops for his visitors. That includes hosting a dinner with Pittsburgh Mayor Bill Patuto, Allegheny County Executive Rich Fitzgerald, plus many leaders and representatives from the local universities and communities.
Has winter finally set in? Here with some hopefully good news and a look at our forecast is Nick Kasisky. Nick?
This week ranges from high 30s to low 50s. Looking around, I see no 60s. But I see some sun on Wednesday and Friday, but the clouds are moving in quicker than the cars on the highway. Saturday, we get some rain, wish it was snow. Hold up, oh my goodness, wait a minute, whoa. Sunday, stay with me, because things are about to get frozen. No Disney. Yeah, that's your weather for the week. So, yeah, expect for some snow at the end. Yep.
Thanks, Nick. That was a pretty entertaining weather segment, I got to admit.
I really appreciate it.
I did, too.
A+ for creativity, man. I couldn't do it.
I say it. But when we return, massively popular toy retailers have pulled from our shelves.
And why Attorney General Jeff Sessions was questioned on Capitol Hill today. Attorney General Jeff Sessions maintained he did not lie under oath about Russian interference in the 2016 election. Sessions testified in a hearing on Capitol Hill earlier today that he had no recollection of an aide informing him about a rumored meeting of the Trump campaign in Russia. The Associated Press is reporting that Sessions described the Trump campaign as chaotic and explained that his statements in public may have been inconsistent due to the chaos and a lack of sleep. Sessions was questioned in light of the guilty plea of former Trump advisor George Papadopoulos. Papadopoulos pled guilty to lying to authorities, about meetings with foreign contacts prior to the 2016 presidential election. Sessions insisted his story had never changed and that it was unfair to expect him to recall who said what when during the campaign.
Target is pulling 2 fidget spinners from its shelves after a consumer advocacy group found dangerous amounts of lead in its product. The two brands of spinners are the Fidget Wild Premium Spinners Brass and the Fidget Wild Premium Spinner Metal. Both devices contain more than the regulated amount of lead that is supposed to be in the toys. The devices should not contain more than 100 parts per million under federal law. The devices in question contained over 33,000 parts per million, while the other contained 1,300 parts per million. Exposure to even a very small amount of lead can be seriously endanger a child's health that can lead to brain damage and slow development. According to a Target spokesperson, if you've previously bought one of these fidget spinners, you can return them to your local store under the Target's standard return policy.
And turning now from the national headlines to news a little closer to home, here with some campus news from the Globe is Robert Berger. Robert?
Thanks, Alex. The Point Park Forensic Science Club recently began their Cakes for Cop campaign. In an effort to show appreciation of local law enforcement, members of the club are working together to deliver cakes to all 6 of the Pittsburgh police zones, along with the Point Park Police Department. According to club president Carlin Diachan, the idea came during last year's presidential election due to the scrutiny that law enforcement was receiving. So far, the club has delivered cakes to the Point Park Police Department in Zone 1. They plan to make delivery to the 2nd zone later this week. In USG news, USG nominated sophomore Kaylee Kearns as the new student body vice president Monday afternoon. Last week, former vice president Davian Herron resigned due to personal reasons after serving for 7 months alongside President Bobby Bertha. Kearns, a sports arts and entertainment management major, has been an active member of the Finance, Rules, and Student Concerns Committee since her freshman year here. Kearns said it's an honor to be nominated and to be recognized for her work and dedication at USG, and that she knows it will be a big jump moving to vice president. However, she is ready for the challenge. In last week, CEO and founder of Newsmax Media, Christopher Ruddy, spoke at the 2nd installment of the Pittsburgh Talkback series at the Pittsburgh Playhouse. During the session, Ruddy discussed his career in media, the current state of journalism, and his long friendship with President Donald Trump. While discussing the president's relationship with the media, Ruddy noted multiple times that Trump does not hate the media, rather just hates when they attack him personally. Ruddy's appearance was met with silent protesters who placed a banner in the lobby reading, "Hate speech is not free speech." The next Talkback series is scheduled for March 19th and will feature NFL analyst John Clayton. Back to you guys.
Coming up, the surprising place 3 UCLA basketball players were arrested.
Plus, a Zimbabwe leader has been accused of treason. We'll break it down next.
All that and more, and we have Delaney Baumis here to give the latest in sports world. Coming up next. The 3 UCLA basketball players who are being held in China for shoplifting are on their way back to the States. The 3 freshmen, LiAngelo Ball, Cody Riley, and Jalen Hall, were caught last week shoplifting from a Louis Vuitton outlet. President Trump asked China's leader to help resolve the case involving the 3 student athletes. A UCLA spokesman declined to address whether the players would face disciplinary action from their school upon their return.
Meanwhile, Zimbabwe's ruling party has accused the country's army chief of treason after he warned of a possible military intervention in politics. The BBC reports that General Constantino Chiwenga, had challenged Zimbabwe's President Robert Mugabe after Mugabe sacked the country's vice president. Zimbabwe is divided over succession of the country's leadership, and the president removed his vice president over differences in viewpoint. BBC correspondents spotted several armored vehicles outside of Zimbabwe's capital city. The ruling party says Chiwenga's recent actions were, quote, calculated to disturb the peace and incite national insurrection, end quote. The leader of the party's youth wing says the general did not have full support of the military, leaving the state of affairs in Zimbabwe still uncertain.
From the headlines to the sidelines, we have Delaney Baumis in the studio with the latest in the sporting world. Delaney?
Colin Kaepernick is in the news again, but this time it is for being named GQ Magazine's Citizen of the Year. Kaepernick is yet to get another quarterback position in the NFL since he started his Take a Knee protest in 2016. According to WTAE, the magazine said that his protest puts Kaepernick on the same level of other groundbreaking sports stars such as Muhammad Ali and Jackie Robinson. They said his stance against racism and police brutality made him, quote, the man who became the movement, end quote. The magazine said Kaepernick was photographed for the cover in Harlem among the men, women, and children he is fighting for. He tweeted out Monday morning saying he is honored to be recognized by GQ magazine. While most athletes play through physical pain without thinking twice, Marquise Goodwin played through emotional pain this Sunday after a family tragedy. Goodwin posted on social media after the win saying that he and his wife Morgan lost their son due to complications with his wife's pregnancy. His Instagram post said, quote, "Although we are hurt, I am grateful for the experience and grateful that God blessed me with a wife as courageous and resilient as Morgan," unquote. Despite the emotional pain he was going through, Goodwin played in the game and even caught an 83-yard touchdown, helping the team to their first win of the season. Goodwin left the locker room soon after the game ended to be with his family. From everyone here at NewsNight, our thoughts are with the Goodwin family during this time.
And thank you so much for joining us this evening. That's your news tonight. For Rob Gomez, Nick Kasisky, Delaney Baumis, Robert Berger, and the whole NewsNight crew, have a great night.